If you've hit the wall of total nervous exhaustion, where your mood swings wildly and you can barely get through the day, you've probably started looking for a natural way out. But treating burnout requires identifying how your exhaustion manifests. The first type is melancholic burnout, profound lethargy, apathy, and heavy sadness, where small tasks feel impossible. The second is stagnant burnout. You feel tired but wired, physically tense and anxious. For centuries, traditional medicine has approached these two states with two entirely different botanical tools. One is the well-known St. John's wort. The other is Albizia Julibrissin, commonly called the silk tree, historically prized in Eastern medicine as the herb of happiness. The wrong botanical choice can actually backfire, fueling the specific chemical imbalance responsible for your fatigue. There is a widespread assumption that because an intervention comes from a plant, it is inherently gentle and free of side effects. St. John's wort and Albizia operate on entirely different neurochemical pathways in your brain. You cannot swap one for the other based on what happens to be in stock at the health food store. They also carry drastically different safety profiles, particularly in how they force your liver to metabolize other medications you might be taking. Neither of these botanicals is objectively stronger or universally better than the other. Finding relief depends entirely on matching the specific herb to your exact physiological pattern and taking a hard look at your current medicine cabinet. If your exhaustion has progressed into a deep, low-energy depression, St. John's wort has the strongest clinical backing. It is one of the most thoroughly researched botanicals in modern psychiatry. St. John's wort acts as a broad-spectrum reuptake inhibitor. It physically blocks neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine from being cleared away, keeping them active longer to overcome deep apathy. It also modulates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, normalizing your stress response by dropping chronically high cortisol. The major trade-off is time. Repairing these neural pathways is slow work. You have to commit to consistent daily use for 2 to 4 weeks before you see significant therapeutic benefits. For patients dealing with long-term, unmotivated depression, these combined mechanisms make St. John's wort a direct, clinically equivalent alternative to standard synthetic SSRIs. But that high clinical efficacy comes with a massive hidden risk. St. John's wort has a highly aggressive systemic interaction profile. The plant's compounds heavily induce a liver enzyme called CYP3A4, forcing it into overdrive. Consequently, your body metabolizes other medications incredibly fast. Drugs like blood thinners, immunosuppressants, and oral contraceptives are effectively neutralized before doing their jobs. Combining it with pharmaceutical antidepressants creates a severe risk of serotonin syndrome, a dangerous toxic buildup in the brain. It also triggers intense photosensitivity, leading to severe sunburns for light-skinned users. St. John's wort acts like a metabolic wrecking ball. For anyone on prescription medications, this clinical potency creates a direct conflict with your existing treatment. This is where Albizia Julibrissin bark becomes highly relevant. In Eastern medicine, it has a long-standing precedent as a primary treatment for grief and irritability. Albizia operates through a different neurochemical mechanism, enhancing the sensitivity of specific serotonin receptors instead of merely preventing their clearance. It also interacts directly with GABA-A receptors. This gives the bark a mild sedative effect, traditionally described as anchoring the spirit to stop racing thoughts. Unlike the month-long wheat required for St. John's wort, Albizia provides rapid relief. It often begins easing that acute grief, irritability, and mental agitation within just a few days of use. While it relies more on preclinical data rather than the massive human trials of St. John's wort, Albizia is the superior botanical choice for treating acute, high-anxiety burnout. Albizia also delivers a secondary set of physical benefits. It possesses strong blood-invigorating and anti-inflammatory properties. Its specific saponins and flavonoids are traditionally used to accelerate the healing of physical trauma, fractures, and internal swellings by driving circulation to damaged tissue. On the safety side, Albizia does not induce the liver enzymes that St. John's wort does. It will not neutralize your standard prescription medications, but it carries its own specific dangers. Because it acts as a mild sedative and promotes blood flow, it dangerously amplifies the effects of over-the-counter sleep aids, alcohol, and surgical anesthesia. It is structurally safer for polypharmacy patients, but its blood-invigorating nature makes Albizia strictly contraindicated for pregnant women, individuals with active bleeding disorders, or anyone facing imminent surgery. This flowchart shows how to choose your botanical match. We start with the critical question: are you taking prescription medications? If taking birth control, heart medications, or immunosuppressants, you must avoid St. John's wort. Your route safely terminates at Albizia bark. If your medicine cabinet is empty, move to the symptom check. Is your burnout apathetic or anxious? If dealing with deep apathy, your match is St. John's wort. Give it 4 weeks to see results. If you are tired but wired, plagued by physical tension, irritability, and racing thoughts, your exact physiological match is Albizia bark. Relying on a generic mood booster label is dangerous. Precise symptom targeting is required for relief. To summarize, St. John's wort is strictly for an empty medicine cabinet and deep lethargic depression. On the other hand, Albizia is strictly for high-tension anxiety and physical trauma, provided you aren't mixing it with heavy sedatives. Just because these interventions grow in the ground does not mean they are weak. These are highly potent chemicals that systematically alter your brain and liver function. Always consult a physician or clinical herbalist to verify specific interaction risks before starting either protocol. Mastering burnout isn't about finding a magic herbal bullet. It requires respecting plant pharmacology and matching it precisely to your body's chemistry.